Imagine the final heartbeat of a man you never agreed with, not even once. In that split second before everything fades, does he reach for something bigger than the fight? Does faith wrap around him like a shield, even if his words once felt like weapons to you? That's the raw ache one actress carried into a quiet conversation, and it exploded into a firestorm she never saw coming. She'd always been the type to speak her truth, loud and unfiltered. An Academy Award sat on her shelf, but family meant more, especially her daughter, who taught her the real cost of love in a world quick to judge. When news broke that an outspoken conservative voice had been gunned down mid-debate on a college stage, the nation split wide open again. Cheers in some corners, silence in others. And there she was, on a podcast with an old friend, voice cracking as she tried to make sense of it all. I clashed with him on every single thing he ever stood for, she admitted, tears slipping free. But he was a dad, a husband, someone who believed in a higher power. In his last breath, I hope that belief held him close, gave him peace. Simple words, meant as a whisper of shared humanity. Yet the internet heard a roar of approval for the man himself, not the fragile idea of grace in chaos. Anger poured in fast. How could she mourn even a sliver of him? Her own life screamed the opposite, fierce ally to the LGBTQ community, marching for trans rights, shielding her child from the very rhetoric he championed. Fans felt betrayed. Strangers called her hypocrite. The clip looped endlessly, stripped of context, twisted into something softer, kinder than she ever intended. Weeks dragged on in radio silence. She watched the storm from afar, heart heavy, wondering if nuance had any room left in the conversation. Then, in a candid magazine sit-down, she finally stepped forward to reclaim her voice. It got lost in translation, she explained, a wry smile tugging through the hurt. I wasn't sending him off with blessings or praise. I was talking about the thread that ties us all, faith, whatever shape it takes, even when the beliefs attached to it make my skin crawl. The shooter had struck on a crisp September afternoon, right in the middle of a campus comeback tour. Bullets cut short a life built on bold claims and bolder divides. Turning Point's founder gone in an instant, leaving supporters reeling and critics quietly relieved. But death has a way of blurring lines, forcing even enemies to stare at the same fragile mortality. She pressed on in the interview, eyes sharp with exhaustion. We live in a black and white feed. Now, pick a side or get canceled. Hold two truths at once and watch the world scream. She paused, voice dropping low. Try being someone who defends a nation's survival while weeping for the innocents caught in the crossfire. Say that out loud and see how fast the labels fly. If this story of crossed wires and quiet courage is hitting you right where it hurts, please share it. Let someone else feel the weight of what it means to stay human in the noise. The backlash didn't just bruise her public image. It cracked open bigger questions. Could compassion exist without endorsement? Was empathy now a limited resource, doled out only to the like-minded? She refused to shrink. Complexity isn't betrayal, she insisted. It's the messy proof we're still thinking. Flashback to that original podcast moment, her friend leaning in, the room thick with unspoken grief. She hadn't planned the tears. They arrived uninvited, the way truth sometimes does when you're staring down the barrel of our shared fragility. Listeners on one side heard mercy, others heard weakness. Neither camp waited for the full sentence. Cut to the present, headlines still simmer, but her words hang in the air like smoke refusing to clear. She speaks of faith not as agreement, but as the last lifeline any of us might clutch when the lights dim. A father's hand on a child's photo, a husband's quiet prayer before sleep. Universal fragments no ideology can fully own. And here's the twist that keeps the ache alive. Days after the interview dropped, a letter arrived from the widow. No cameras, no statements, just ink on paper, thanking the actress for seeing the men beneath the microphone, even while rejecting every syllable he broadcast. Two women, worlds apart, connected by the thinnest thread of understanding. The lesson lingers like evening shadows. We don't have to applaud the message to honor the messenger's final fear. We don't have to erase differences to acknowledge pain. In a culture addicted to outrage, choosing the harder path, speaking through tears, clarifying without apology might just be the quietest act of rebellion left. If you're still here, heart open, hit that like button to keep stories like this alive. Subscribe for more raw moments that remind us humanity isn't canceled yet. And share this everywhere because someone out there needs permission to hold the contradiction without breaking.